Hey, what's going on, guys? Robert Thompson-Eshun. Welcome back to the channel. And this video I actually want to go over my entire journey through pharmacy school. And the reason why I want to do this is because recently I was just asked to actually give a year-by-year analysis of my pharmacy school and any recommendations I would have going through pharmacy school by a student. And also I think this would be a good video just to give you guys a little framework based on P1 through P4 year. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's get right into it. So my first year of pharmacy school, I mainly just focused on studying. Like I said before in previous videos, and I'll keep saying it again, is this the time period where you should really be figuring out your kind of rhythm for how you like to study, making sure you're studying correctly by using like active recall questions and testing yourself and like making practice exams so that way you can actually like excel during your test and build up a good rhythm overall. That's probably the main focus for me, especially when I was in my first year. Besides that, I think you should also focus on like learning about yourself more, like, you know, like what are your other passions? Not just pharmacy, but like if you have anything that like helps you stay fit, helps you stay like healthy, those kind of things. Those are also important to make sure you have, because it's very easy to put schoolwork as the #1 priority and then not have anything else as a priority. But that's something that a lot of people make a mistake of, which leads to burnout. So it's very important that you kind of build that rhythm, like I said before, and make sure you actually like have other things that you like to do on top of what your schoolwork is. My recommendation for this time period is that I wish I actually joined clubs and different organizations. This is a great time to join because your first year, you get to just meet everybody and just join clubs that you think are going to be very applicable for you in the long term. And this is a good time to actually network people because these are going to be your classmates for a long period of time. So it's very important that you connect with them as much as possible and build that rapport, relationship with them over time. Now going into summertime, now this is actually based on how ambitious you really are. Obviously it's your first year, so it's like you should probably relax a little bit. But if you're really like ambitious and focused on your career long term, this would be a good time to actually look for jobs, like internships. This is actually when I had an internship at a job, and that ended up being my actual job. This is a good time to actually like start exploring some of those things if you are ambitious, or you can just chill in summertime if you want to. And the quote that I liked a lot is just like, when you're looking for a job, you should either be learning or earning, or preferably both. So just keep that in mind when you're going to look for a job. Either look for opportunities where you can actually gain some skill sets or some very transferable skills, or try to earn a little bit of money on the side, because it's very, very hard to be a college student, especially when you're like not making money. But it's good to make a little money on the side just to like help you with your student loans, or help you pay for expenses like food, Now in the P2 year, obviously studying is a little more normalized because you went through that first year of studying. And now this should kind of be your time to actually get used to studying a lot better. And now you're actually like used to studying a little bit. But now you're actually studying like how, for me, I was studying how like therapeutic, medicinal chemistry, pharmacology, like all the concepts I was learning previously actually applied to like clinical disease states, and like how it actually applies to patients, which was a lot different because my studying was a lot harder to do, because now you're actually learning how pharmacy kind of integrates into real life. So this is actually my hardest year for me studying wise. And my recommendation for this time period is like, this is a time period, like I said before, where it's like really, really good to have a job / internships as well. If you can also do it during the school year. And I think this is the best time to actually build your network of people that have like are managers, co-workers, or like peers that have graduated previously and already working. Because then you really get to see like, okay, now you're learning about the actual thing that's going on in patients. And now you get to see like, okay, what route do people actually take in their actual career to help these patients in the future. And once you're able to learn like how they actually process like helping patients, you can kind of retrace the steps of like how they went through school and how they got to where they are now from like the last couple years. Now with that being said, even though I do emphasize like getting external experiences like work during the school year, it's very important to understand that studying is the most important thing. So you need to optimize that as much as possible, and you need to make sure you build a good school, work, life harmony so that you can actually like not get burnt out, make sure you're constantly being academically adherent to your grades, and just overall have a good life, because like it's very important to understand that this is a process, but understanding that like you can enjoy it in the entire time. And that's something that's very important that I wish I knew previously. And there will obviously be times where obviously like one thing actually is more important than other ones. But overall, you gotta understand, like, you gotta make sure that not one is too high for too long, and constantly being in flow of making sure, like, everything is balanced at a certain level, and understanding that like this is going to be a pretty long process, so make sure you can actually maintain the same rhythm over time. Okay, so now looking into your P3 or your third year, and this is basically the year where you're used to studying now, you have a good routine, and right now you're just looking to build your resume up as much as possible, get as many experiences as possible, and make sure they're very tangible so you can actually talk about them in the future. And this is the point where you should really be career focused and making sure that like the opportunities you're doing can actually help pave the way for you in the future. So pretty much the same advice as P2 year. And during this time period, I was talking to as many people as possible, because now you're realizing that like, you know, you're more than 50% way done and you're reaching that 75 to 100% done. So now I was talking to as many people as possible, learning as much as possible that I could to help me navigate my future career after school. And what I like about being in this time period was, for me, I didn't realize how many people were actually willing to talk to me, you know. I think you get a lot of imposter syndrome when you talk to like a lot of people that are like C-suite or like, you know, pharmacy managers of like big institutions, but like a lot of people are actually very willing to talk to students, and like they remember their time period when they were a student and they love talking to people and like helping and guide them and like being a part of their process. So I would say use that to your advantage, you know, like help someone feel like more important. And that's something that they already like, you know, they already established themselves in their career to the most part. So like if they can give you any advice, some people are very, very willing to. And I was very surprised during this time period how many people were willing to help me learn about things, as well as just like talk to me in the first place. This is very important to note as well that since there's a lot of competition in pharmacy, especially if you're looking for postgraduate training like a residency or fellowship, it's very important that you talk to as many people as possible and get as many good experiences that you can, because this is actually going to help you in your resume in the future, as well as help you build connections if you need to get like letter recommendations or just overall guidance and mentorship from other people. So the P3 year was actually pretty fun for me, because at this point you're pretty much a productivity machine. You're able to actually know how to study things very easily, and I was able to hang out with friends, as well as like, you know, do fitness on the side, and I really, really enjoyed that. And then this leads up to the next point where like I've talked with a lot of people and like learning about people and what their careers are, and then getting guidance from other people. You get into your P4 year where you actually get to pick your rotations out. And a lot of my rotations that I picked were based on a lot of different guidance I got from other people, as well as wanting to learn more about certain things that I felt like I didn't understand fully from talking to people, so I wanted to get more tangible experiences. Now into the P4 year, this was probably the most challenging year for me in terms of challenging my ideas of what my future career could be. Especially when you think about like, you know, many people think that your career can be very linear, like, you know, you do step A, step B, step C, and sometimes that doesn't go a lot of people's way. And I've got to talk to people that actually went through a back route to get to where they wanted to get to in the future, or they went through like many different obstacles along the way and they still ended up in a good place. So that really challenged me to think that like, you know, make sure you're constantly doing things that you really enjoy and making sure that like you try your best, and even if you don't get it, you can always just pivot later on. And this is really the year where you learn more about your interests, because then you really get to have experiences based on your interest and you really get to pick it out yourself. Sometimes you don't get to obviously pick out the ones you really, really like, but you can pick out that are pretty close, and that's good enough sometimes. The only strange thing about this year is that it pretty much starts immediately. Like, I remember my P3 year ended around like May, and I was already starting rotations like the first period. And unless you ask for time off, so like, you get like a couple of months off, and you have to really request that, but I just wanted to go straight into it, and it basically like was just like no transition, like no summertime. It was just straight into the next cycle, and that was where I really got to learn, you know, how to actually work. Because I feel like even though I had a job, it was very different to work in a lot of different settings, from like working in like medical affairs, medical writing, to Medicaid and Medicare, to working in like cancer center, like Memorial Sloan Kettering. So like a lot of these different experiences was like different, because when you're in school, you're used to like just like studying, and I also had working in like an office setting versus working in a remote setting and working in a setting where you actually have to go in person. It really allows you to like see different aspects of pharmacy, as well as how you can use your healthcare experience to make a contribution into the real world. And so I chose to get as many experiences as possible from many different outlets based on like what I saw was interesting to me. And I think it's very important to like make sure when you're doing your rotations to try to be learning as much as possible, because there are rotations where sometimes you're not really gonna be like as hands-on with things. And for me, I was like, no, I want to be like learning as much as possible, asking as many questions as I can. So that's what I did, and that really can help you navigate a future career, because this is like the only time period where you can like literally sometimes just walk into some buildings, as opposed to like when you're older, it's a lot harder to like actually get connections in the future. So yeah, I would optimize this as much as possible and try to get as many good experiences that you can, because this can help you a lot in the future. Because I know a lot of people, especially, like they usually get to work in the place that they usually rotated at or they usually work in. So it's very important that you constantly are like picking rotations that are very important to you and interesting you, because you never know, you could actually end up working there in the future, you know? So during your P4 year, I think this is the most important year to make sure you are like understanding what you want. If you don't know what you want, then try to get as many experience as possible to learn as much as possible. If you, for example, know you want to do institutional pharmacy or hospital, try to get those experiences early on in the year, because that can help you when you're actually applying for mid-year. Same thing with fellowship. If you know you want to get a fellowship, try to get those experiences that will help you with your resume building, so that way when you actually do apply during mid-year, that can actually help you. So try to get as early as possible. Like for example, I know fellowship starts around like sometimes October, November time period, versus like a mid-year starts around like November to January time period. So just try as much as possible to like get good experiences early on, and that can really help you when you actually are applying to places, because then you can say, okay, I really love my experience here and these things I learned the most, and I want to explore that further in the future with these postgraduate trainings. So yeah, that's the end of the video for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think the main underlying thing I want to say in this video is just to like make sure you follow your curiosity, because you never know where it could lead you. And I think when you're doing that, you're always going to be in a good place, because you're always going to put yourself where your heart is lying to, and it can actually lead you to very interesting places. So, catch you guys next time. Peace out. Bye.